I'm Matt Collins. I'd like to welcome you to Bob Weber Auto Mart on Douglas Avenue here in Racine, across from Douglas Park. We specialize in 1-year-old, low mileage, almost new cars. And if you'd like to stop by and see them, or see them on our website, bobweberautomart.com, we could save you between $5,000 and $10,000 on your next almost new car purchase.
Welcome into another edition of Sports Junkies here at RacineSportsZone.com. Steve Sparky Fifer from the Wendy's Big Show on Sports Radio 1250 WSSP, along with Gery Woelfel, columnist here at RacineSportsZone.com. Time to talk a little Paca football as we get ready for week number 3 of the exhibition season against the Seattle Seahawks. Well, Gery, we got a chance to see Eddie Lacy finally in an exhibition football game last weekend against the St. Louis Rams. Your thoughts?
Well, we had talked about this last week. You know, to me, he's the wild card on offense. I mean, not that they need a lot of help offensively. They don't. They're still going to get 28, 30 points a game without him, you know. But he adds another dimension, as you well know. And, you know, it's weird. Everybody was raving about Lacy, but the one thing that kind of disappointed me was he didn't seem to have that breakaway speed. You know, like getting past the second level. And I thought, okay, fine. He's a good, grinded-out, inside-type player. But when he got to that second level, not so much, you know.
Sure.
So, but I mean, having said that, you know, he's better than anything they got.
No, you know, and he definitely separated himself. But now you look at DeJuan Harris; he's coming back off of injury. He's still number 1 on the depth chart. So we could see.
Do you buy that?
Harris and Lacy. I don't know if Harris will start week 1 or Lacy will start week 1.
Yeah.
But what it looks like is they're going to split carries between these two, similar to maybe DeAngelo Williams and Jonathan Stewart in Carolina for the last couple of years, which I'm not a big fan of. I'll be honest, I don't like going, okay, you're going to get 10 carries and you're going to get 10 carries. Do with what you will with it. I understand if you're trying to keep Lacy healthy because he's been hurt throughout his college career, even going back to high school. If that's part of the reason why you do it, maybe. I just think Lacy's that much better. But if you're in fantasy football, I think DeJuan Harris is going to be a good pick, too, because I think they're both going to get carries.
See, I agree with you. If I'm McCarthy, man, I let Lacy stay on the field as much as possible. You know, and the one gripe I have always heard from professional running backs was, hey, I can't get into the flow. If I get one touch, you know, every 2 or 3 series, I just can't get into a flow. A lot of these guys want to carry it 15, 20 times a game.
Sure.
And I think with Lacy in particular, I think you got to keep him out there.
Well, the one thing about Lacy that you haven't had in the past, Gery, now when you get to that fourth quarter and you want to pound on people because you have the lead, Lacy's going to really pound on people. You're going to have a defense out there that's going to be tired and wore out. And here comes big old Eddie Lacy running at you, just rumbling and pounding on you. I think that is going to be the added element that this team hasn't had.
Well, the other thing, too, I talked to a pro scout the other day and asked him about Bakhtiari, their starting left tackle. And he said, I love the kid coming out of school. He said he thought the Packers got a steal in this kid. He said the only concern with him was from a weight standpoint.
Size.
He said he needs to bulk up. He has to get bigger. And he will. I mean, he's only in his first year. So, I mean, but unfortunately, if you're the Packers, you need that now. You know, you can't wait 2 or 3 years for him to develop. So, I mean, so far, the results have been good. But again, we're not talking regular season. Once that comes around, it's a whole new game.
Absolutely right. And then on the defensive side of the football, news coming out from Joe Vitt, Darren Perry, and Dom Capers and that defensive coaching staff, that the philosophy is going to change with their starting cornerbacks this year. Now, in years past, while Dom Capers has been here, the best cornerback has always shadowed the best wide receiver on the other team. So, for example, if Charles Woodson was on the field and they were playing, say, the Lions, Kelvin Johnson, Charles Woodson, before he went to the slot, that is, when he was on the outside, would follow him around. Or Tramon Williams would follow that guy around. This year, they have decided not to do that. They're going to play sides, which means Tramon Williams is on one side, Sam Shields is on the other side. Whoever lines up against him on that given play is who they're taking. There will be no more shadowing. Part of that, I think, is to challenge Sam Shields to see just how good he can be. Because for the last 2 years, people have used the excuse for Tramon Williams of, well, he's playing the other team's best wide receiver. What do you think is going to happen? So now those excuses are gone. Now Tramon's going to get the opportunity, and so is Sam. I like the decision by the coaching staff.
I guess I got mixed feelings. You know, to me, it tells me that there isn't a clear separation in talent between the two guys.
And they said that. They said the ability is virtually not the same, but pretty close.
Pretty close. I mean, Shields has his head on straight. I mean,
he's the best.
He's a very talented player. But the problem is he doesn't stay focused for an entire game. And when you have veteran, experienced receivers, they're going to take advantage of that, and especially veteran quarterbacks. At some point in the game, he slacks off. He loses his focus. Boom,
I love Sam Shields.
Yeah.
I love Sam Shields because of his speed. I love Sam Shields because of his instincts to make the big play. This is where I get concerned. I get concerned when it's Calvin Johnson and Sam Shields. Sam Shields is not a physical cornerback.
Correct.
Brandon Marshall and Sam Shields, I get concerned. Again, not physical. Will Sam Shields be able to be physical enough to do what's needed to play against those bigger wide receivers? They're not going to outrun him. He's going to run with either one of them. You want to send them down on fly routes, he'll be right there step for step.
And if you look at it in the NFC North, you got Jennings in Minnesota.
But then Jennings doesn't concern me.
He's a physical type guy, though. I mean, you
Shields will be fine. I'm not worried about that.
I disagree with that. Yeah, Jennings is a tough, hard-nosed guy he'll beat you off the line of scrimmage where and that's, I think, an issue that's going to be worth following with the Packers. One of the things that Jennings did well was beating the bump and run because he was a strong type receiver. But I mean, going back to the NFC North, you got Jennings in Minnesota, you got Marshall in Chicago, you got Kelvin Johnson in Detroit, all big, tough, physical receivers. And it'll be interesting to see how the Packers match up with them.
I agree with that. And the other conversation that has been starting out because of the play of Micah Hyde, the rookie cornerback, when he originally was drafted, I think there were some media members that thought, okay, they're going to move him to safety. And then the presser happens after they draft Micah Hyde on draft day, and they say, no, we're going to leave him at cornerback. Well, he's played so well at cornerback, and there's really not any room for him per se right now with Shields, Tramon Williams, and Casey Hayward being your nickel package, which is what you're going to play most of the time. And then you have Devon House behind that, okay?
Devon House he's in trouble.
Well, fine.
he's real shaky now.
But I'm telling you, if I'm the Packer coaching staff, knowing that M.D. Jennings and Deron McMillan, neither one of those two have separated themselves from the other, according to the coaching staff. I think M.D. Jennings has outplayed McMillan. According to the coaching staff, it's neck and neck right now. So be it. I
agree with
I
you
don't see.
wholeheartedly.
Okay, but I'm just seeing games. I'm not up there for every practice.
Right.
So maybe in practice, McMillan is outplaying them. So they're saying they're neck and neck. If it's me, I'm moving Micah Hyde to safety.
I am on the same page.
If we're healthy,
absolutely. Don't mess around with it.
You agree?
Wholeheartedly. This guy has, he probably doesn't have the physical abilities the other two guys have.
He can hit like those guys. He may not be as well. No,
but he is a smart player. I mean, going back to Iowa, you could see. I mean, the guy has this football instincts. He's around the ball constantly. I'll tell you what. I wouldn't waste any time. I'd insert him into the starting lineup right now and say, hey. I mean, not that he's going to make a world of difference, but to me, he is definitely an upgrade over the guys who got there.
First, I think they have to see if Tramon and Casey Hayward can stay healthy because they haven't played. I mean, those two guys are huge because if one or the other can't play, then Micah Hyde's going to have to stay at cornerback. So I don't think you can necessarily make that transition.
He's not a corner,
now.
though. That's where I totally disagree with him. And based on two scouts that I talked to, they said he does not have the speed to match
He
up.
doesn't. He's not a fast guy.
And that's going to kill you. It's going to catch up with you at some point. And that's why don't even fill around with it. You know he's never going to be that, so why waste your time doing it?
I agree with you on that. The other person, obviously, we have to talk about because he, again, continues to step up. Johnny Jolly.
Wow.
Years removed from being on the field, having to go to jail and everything else. He comes back, and Gary Ellerson, who does the afternoon show with me, the big show in Milwaukee, went up there for OTAs. Came back and said, Johnny Jolly is so out of shape, it's ridiculous.
Out of shape?
Back at OTAs.
Yeah.
He's like, he's huge. He goes, I don't know how he's going to do anything being as big as he is. Well, from OTAs to training camp, Jolly's improved his body a little bit.
I think he's improved it a lot.
Right.
I thought he looked really good.
Right, his feet are so quick right now. It's a big deal. So Jolly makes plays in the Rams game, comes back the next day in the scrimmage, makes more plays, or not in the scrimmage, in practice the next day. So Jolly, I'll say it, and I've said it already on the big show, he might be your starting defensive end next to Raji and Pickett. This is a guy they didn't know if he was going to make the team, but Dayton Jones can't stay healthy. Okay. He played one snap in the exhibition game, doesn't play in the second exhibition game, comes back to practice on Wednesday of this week, and leaves hurt again.
What is it about Packer first-round picks staying healthy?
Packer players in general staying healthy. In general.
Hey, the other thing I wanted to talk about.
McCarthy is as frustrated as anybody. They asked McCarthy, hey, so what do you think? He goes, I don't know what to think. Half my team hasn't played the whole exhibition season.
We talked about this 2 weeks ago, and I want to bring it up again. I'm really detecting a different Mike McCarthy this training camp. He is really, really irritable. I mean, it's not like, okay, he's irritable and then he's fine. He's been irritable now for about 2 or 3 weeks.
He is not happy, I don't think, in my opinion, or comfortable with what he's been given. I think that's a big deal. From a talent perspective, I think he sees the same thing maybe that I see, which is they're not as good as they were. And where you're looking for guys to make up the slack, you're looking at young first and second year players that have to learn how to play at this level.
I agree.
And now, in order to succeed. On top of that, all of these injuries, I'm sure, are getting to him. Because it's every single year, Gary. At some point, how do those people that are on the training staff and everything else, how do you keep your job if every year we're getting hurt? And I know everybody says, well, Sparky, everybody around the league's hurt. And my response is, this is every year in Green Bay.
Yeah,
Fine.
I totally agree with you.
You can point to the other teams and go, oh, they're hurt. Fine. Every year. The year they went to the Super Bowl, they have 16 guys on the IR. 16. I mean,
yeah, you know what? I totally agree with you on your assessments of his irritability. I have another theory. The Packers start out with 4 or 5 really tough games at the outset of the season. And I think he wants to get them ready right off the bat.
He has to win one of the first 2.
He does. I mean, that opening season stretch is really challenging. And I got a feeling like he's got a different philosophy this year. Like, hey, we got to be ready right from the get-go. Even though it's a long season, as we all know. But we got to be respectable right from the first 4 or 5 games.
Hard to do when you can't get guys on the field to play.
I know, but he's
2 of your 3 quarters haven't been on the field.
He's almost like looking at these as playoff games already, that he wants the intensity to match. Yeah, exactly. That he's lighting the fire on these guys.
No
already.
question. Seattle is week 3. Mm-hmm. That's Seahawks team. You are a huge Russell Wilson fan.
Yes, I am.
He doesn't have much of anything at wide receiver right now.
No, he doesn't.
On that team. Marshawn Lynch has, 1 yard in 2 games running the football. So how good can Russell Wilson be in year 2?
I don't know how he could be better than he was in year 1. I really believe that he peaked out, that he maxed out.
He peaked out his rookie year?
I do. I mean, that guy, you look at his numbers, his QB ratings, his touchdowns to interception ratios. I mean, they're off the charts, and I just can't fathom him being much better. I mean, if he plays like he did last year, he's going to be a Hall of Fame quarterback.
Oh, my God.
Absolutely.
Oh, stop.
You look at
Hall of Fame.
Everybody's talking about Luck, and everybody's talking about RG3. He played every bit as well as those guys, and he was productive. He got his team into the playoffs, and, man, that kid, I remember talking to him at the NFL Combine, and I was thinking, like, is this guy even going to make – I thought he could make a team, but I thought he'll never be a starter. Then he becomes a starter, and I thought, well, okay, he's starting, but how good he can be. He was really, really good last year. So, and like you said, it's not like he had a plethora of great, superstars around him. I mean, the guy is just one of the smartest individuals I've ever met, very poised.
All right.
We could talk forever about this kid.
Next coaching decision for Mike McCarthy. How long to play Aaron Rodgers? Obviously, week 3. We do this every year in week 3 of the exhibition season. But the more important question to me is, how long do you play Vince Young?
I think that, you know what? I really believe they made a decision on Vince Young already.
Already?
I do. I think the second spot is already taken care of.
So then what does that mean for Graham Harrell and B.J. Coleman?
I think Graham Harrell is definitely the number 2 guy. And I think Vince Young is going to have to do something miraculous in the last couple games of preseason to make the roster. I really think they brought him in just in case. They're taking a long, hard look at him, but I think they're set on Harrell being the number 2 guy.
I think Harrell's out of a job, and I think Vince Young is going to be the backup quarterback on this team. And I'll tell you why
we're definitely
and I'll tell you why I think that. Yeah. Because Mike McCarthy has not made any bones about it. Every time Vince Young comes up, he talks about he's won at every level. When he gets in the game, it may not look the prettiest, whatever the case may be, but his football teams win when he's in there. And if you're talking about a quarterback, Gary, that has to come in for a week or 2, if Rodgers has a concussion or something, all you need him to do is win one of the two, be 500. And I think he knows that Vince Young is capable of doing that. He's been in the battles. He's been with the bright lights on, and he's played at a fairly high level. Mm-hmm. I think they've already made up their mind that it's Vince Young. What I want to see is I want Aaron Rodgers to play the first half.
Right.
Done. And then at the start of the third quarter, I want the rest of the starters to come back out for offense. But I want Vince Young to quarterback that first drive down the field with the starters. And then let the second unit to come in and let Vince Young play the entire third quarter into the fourth quarter. And then let Coleman or Harrell play the rest of the fourth.
Okay, going back to Graham Harrell, I thought he acquitted himself really well last week. I don't know how much you saw the game, but he threw that ball right down the middle, pinpoint pass to DJ Williams. Does that guy got hands?
Yeah.
Seriously, does he ever make a catch?
Yeah, he does. That's why they drafted him, was for his hands.
He sure hasn't looked like it since he's been in Green Bay.
That's why they drafted him.
I mean, he threw the ball, I thought, very well. He handled himself very well. Again, you may be right, but I think I'm right on this one, that they're going to stick with Harrell.
Remember,
and they invested too much in him going forward.
Remember Ted Thompson. Andrew Brandt said it, who was in Green Bay at the time when they picked Aaron Rodgers. Mm-hmm. That next year, the Green Bay Packers had the number 5 pick, which they took A.J. Hawkins.
I agree. I know you're going on this.
But Andrew Brandt said Ted Thompson was in love with Vince Young that year. And Andrew Brandt said, I don't know if he would have taken Vince Young or not at 5, if he would have been there. Because Vince Young won at 3. Aaron Rodgers was that brash, cocky, not impressive quarterback at all that first year.
I couldn't agree with you more.
And you drafted him at the end of the first round, so if it doesn't work out, whatever. It was at the end of the first round. But if you come back and you have a potential star quarterback behind Brett Favre and Vince Young to mold for a couple of years, Favre would have been livid if he would have done that. But,
you know, we can all look back and say, okay, Vince Young was a so-so quarterback. When he came out of college, I had one veteran scout who had been a scout for 20 years. He loved this guy. He gave Vince Young the highest grade he had ever given a player, period, any position. He thought he was that good. Vince Young didn't materialize. I mean, we see it happen all the time. But there isn't any question. Physically, this guy has it.
Yeah, he is Gery Woelfel of the Racine Journal-Times. Steve Sparky, Fifer with you. That'll do it for another edition of Sports Junkies. We'll talk to you again next week right here at RacineSportsZone.com.
Hi, I'm Matt Collins. I'd like to welcome you to Bob Weber Auto Mart on Douglas Avenue here in Racine, across from Douglas Park. We specialize in 1-year-old, low mileage, almost new cars. And if you'd like to stop by and see them, or see them on our website, bobweberautomart.com, we could save you between $5,000 and $10,000 on your next almost new car purchase.